Okay, so after Hueco Mundo, we have the Arancar arc, and I honestly believe that hands down, this arc is singly the best arc in Bleach pre-time skip. The Arancar arc technically fills up from the second half of Volume 27 and is everything all the way up to the end of Volume 48. And honestly, the biggest reason that this arc is peak inside of Bleach, I genuinely believe that this is the best arc in pre-time skip. Obviously, I'm not through the rest of the series yet, but based on my initial thoughts on it, Aizen definitely carried this arc. The fact that he too was like this presence who showed up very infrequently, but when he did, kind of stole the scene, was honestly really nice. Now, when I'm comparing Aizen to the other villains of the big three, obviously I don't know anything about One Piece. I may or may not get there at some point, or with Madara inside of Naruto. But the biggest thing that I noticed with Aizen in particular, especially with his conversations that he has with Ichigo, is that aside from the psychological and actual manipulation of Ichigo's life, there was the fact that like Ichigo didn't have a real dynamic with Aizen in the way that most other protagonists generally have with their antagonists. For example, Naruto and Pain shared their relationship through being students of Jiraiya. Gaara and Naruto share the relationship between both being Jinchuriki. Zabuza and Haku were battle of philosophies on what it means to be a shinobi. But when you get to the climax to where the the Hyogoku is given to Aizen, and Aizen is talking with Ichigo, and it's more so this conversation that he has about hatred. The fact that because Ichigo has no qualms against Aizen, he doesn't have any particular dynamic between his relationship as both the protagonist and antagonist at this point, that he's not going to fight on the same level. He's not going to fight at the same degree as the other captains do, because the other captains know Aizen better than he does. And I thought that was a very interesting thing to go off of. I mean, there's also the fact at the very end they didn't kill off Aizen, which again, kudos, because a lot of times with a lot of other shonen, they'll kill off their antagonist. Generally, it'll become the climax and the two will fight. Now, obviously, Ichigo wins this fight between him and Aizen, but Aizen's still around. So maybe I'm thinking that at some point Aizen could make a return, but that's just wishful thinking at that point. But honestly, the absolute decimation and manipulation that Aizen had with the captains over having Hiyori being the one who was taking all the punishment instead of him is honestly kind of great. Suigetsu is kind of like this total manipulation device, and that Aizen's just great at gaslighting the hell out of people. It's honestly, it's very entertaining. It's very different from being a physical threat. Don't get me wrong, Aizen is a physical threat. He's incredibly skilled, incredibly intelligent, but it's his intelligence and his ability to manipulate people on a psychological level that makes him very different from a lot of other shonen protagonists. Because generally, a lot of shonen antagonists are physically capable of beating the crap out of the protagonist and everybody else around them. Madara is obviously the perfect example of that. But when you switch from a physical threat and you lean more towards your psychological threats, there's something different about it. And also, I think it was also interestingly different how towards the beginning of Bleach, when hints of Aizen and like Aizen's first appearance before getting the Hyogoku, he's generally a very calm individual. He's one who thinks everything through. He doesn't let anything get to his head. He's always trying to make those decisions and take whatever precautions he feels are necessary. But when he gets the Hyogoku, we see that Aizen is a lot more arrogant in himself than we're initially led to believe. we see that he sees himself as a god because he is given whatever he wants with the Hyogoku. He thought himself invincible. He thought that nothing could ever harm him. Even though Uchiara was the only other person that might have been just as, if not smarter than Aizen, he couldn't do anything about it. And let me tell you, when we got to that final Getsuga that Ichigo unleashed, it was pure fire. Pure fire. Like, that design that Kubo came up with for him, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. You hands down when it comes to looks, in fact, with all of this arc's particular designs and the way that the characters look, I'd say that from an aesthetic standpoint, Bleach does it better than Naruto. I'm just gonna say it like that. Like, the way that the characters looked, the way that that final Getsuga looked way better than anything that Naruto had, way better than Sasuke's Kirk's marks during pre-time skip. It looked clean as hell. I also forgot to mention the fight that he had where Ichigo became a full hollow during that fight. But yeah, like I said, I think Arancar is hands down the best arc in Bleach. Now, obviously, there's going to be a time skip, and things are going to be subject to change, as I hopefully will get in 1,000-Year Blood War. But let me know down in the comments below, do you guys agree with my thought process here? Do you guys disagree? I would love to hear from you. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.